iTestify is about testifying of what Jesus Christ has done and can do in each of our lives. Through testimony of people just like you, and through study of His Word, our prayer is to encourage each follower of Christ to be a light in this world. So let your light shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father, which is in heaven. Matthew 5:16.
Hi, and thank you for coming again to see us on iTestify. Today we have Jaewon Cha here, and she is a cardiac and neurology nurse, I believe. Is that it?
Cardiac neuro nurse.
There you go, cardiac neuro nurse. And so you are from Paradise, right? Which is up in Northern California?
Yes.
What
Paradise,
hospital
California.
do you work at?
I used to work at Feather River Hospital.
Oh, you used to?
Yeah.
Can you tell us how you got into nursing and what
So
happened to
I
that?
graduated from Southern Adventist University. I've always wanted to be a nurse since I was a little kid because my mom always took care of me when I was sick, and I was like, oh, I want to be like that. So I went straight to nursing and got my AS and then BS right after, and then got a job at Feather River Hospital and have been working since then, since 2012.
How long did you work there from 2012
Till November 8, 2018.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That was the day of the fire, and I never thought in my life that I would have to experience evacuating a whole hospital, a whole town. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went to work at 6:45 and started working. It was a sunny day. There was nothing unusual. It was just a little windy. And started my job, started working, getting my meds, got my report of my patients and stuff. And then the supervisor comes around and she's like, there's a fire like a long ways away, like past the canyon. It's about 20 miles away. And she's like, but don't worry, just keep working. They should be able to put it out and whatnot. So I just kept working, and then like 30 minutes later, I was in a patient's room, and I was like getting the meds out to give to the patient, and I look outside and it's just dark, smoky, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And as I look outside, I was also like listening to her TV going on, and there was a shooting like the night before in Los Angeles, and I was like, oh my goodness, what is like going on in this world? And so I didn't want to scare the patient, but I told her, there's a fire. Look outside, and she was just like pale. She became pale, and I was like, don't worry. If I have to take you, I'll take you, but I'll be right back. So I go to a nurse station, and literally, like the fire, I look outside. The door is just right there, and I look outside, and the fire is already burning right outside of the hospital. And I told the charge nurse, I was like, look outside. And she's like, no, I don't want to look outside. I was like, look outside, the fire is right there. And she's like, no, I don't want to look outside. And right then, the supervisor like runs around the corner, and she's like, get the patients in a wheelchair, gurney, anything, whatever, and let's go, 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 go. And so like we all started scrambling, get the patient's chart, like give it to each patient so they can hold on to their charts. And just like, we just started moving every patient as fast as we can to the emergency room, and then putting them in whatever cars will take them.
Seems like the elevator should be kind of jam-packed too, to try and get people down the floors.
Oh yeah, we were elevators, stairs. If the patients can walk, then they have to walk. If the patients can't, then gurney them, wheelchair them, anything.
This is something that we always prepare for in the hospital, but it's like a reality.
We've never prepared for a whole hospital evacuation in our lives. And we've never even had a drill like that. So there were patients that were on TPN, which they need it constantly. You can't just hook them off. And so I just like grabbed a cup of juice and I was like, keep drinking it. And it was just, some people were on like oxygen, and we just had to, God made it work. In 10 minutes, our floor was evacuated, and within 40 minutes, the whole hospital was evacuated.
Whoa.
But there were some patients that there were very critical ones that wasn't able to leave right away. So there was a patient in surgery, actually, and the surgeon had to like close her up right away. Like, and they didn't even have time to recover her, and they just took her.
Oh, wow.
And there was a person that just gave birth, and so like she just held on to her baby, and like within like 2 minutes, they had to take the baby and
Whoa.
put her in an ambulance.
So where did all the cars come from?
So it's staff cars.
Okay.
Staff cars or like
And then
people
all your
passing by.
all the ambulances.
Yeah.
But where are you evacuating to? Because the fires, I mean, it's
Yeah.
everywhere.
So thankfully, the neighboring hospital in Chico said they can take all of our patients.
I heard
And
that.
so we were just saying, go straight to that hospital, go straight to the hospital. Some patients were able to drive. So
How far away is Chico from?
it's about 20 minutes down the mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
By car.
So just give our viewers an idea. This fire that was it wasn't just localized to the hospital. It wasn't like you were over the hill and there was it engulfed the entire city.
Yeah, it engulfed the entire town. I mean, the news was saying the fire was spreading at like 80 football fields a minute or another one. Yeah. And it was so windy that day. Like you can see fire tornadoes. And when I was watching some of the videos of people escaping, I mean, the wind is so crazy. Like you can't even imagine. Like it's not even just Daniel and his friends in the fire pit. It's like just blowing, and some people are like so scared. They're like, I'm so scared, I don't want to die, and like people are just running out of their cars. It was just chaotic.
What most people don't know about fires is that fires actually create their own wind. So it's not just the wind from the natural environment. Fire itself creates wind, which engulfs more fires, which creates greater wind. So you have to catch it early. That's why these fires get so out of control.
Yeah.
And you had a lot of brush there. When was the last time that Paradise had a fire?
I mean, probably in that summer, but it wasn't anything like this, and we never had to evacuate a whole town before like we got any warnings. We didn't even get any warnings. There was nothing on the radio. I mean, people just woke up and saw fire and they had to run. And 2/3 of the deaths were in the houses or outside of the houses, trying to run from the
Wow.
from the fire.
Perhaps like your charge nurse who didn't want.
She didn't want to look outside. It was just that scary. I mean, like the tall trees were just burning right outside of the hospital. So
This was in the morning, right? Wasn't this in the morning?
it was within
Because you said you were at work 6:45 or something.
6:45, and we were evacuating like before 8 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah, and there were no signs of fire.
I would have been burned up because I don't get out of bed till 8. So.
Yeah. Some people died in their sleep. Yeah,
Serious?
for sure.
Wow.
Wow.
So the road to Chico, to the hospital in Chico, that was clear. I mean, obviously, I'm sure it started to get jam-packed.
Oh, some of my coworkers, it only takes 15-20 minutes to go down the mountain. Some of my coworkers took 7 hours.
Wow.
I mean, it was packed. There are 4 roads
7
out of Paradise. Every single one of them was blocked.
Wow.
At one point, and they had to use bulldozers to get the cars and all the trees that fell down out of the way for even to get out.
Wow.
And there was my coworker actually picked up a Vietnam veteran who had dementia, like running on the side of the road, and he thought he was in Vietnam War because
Oh, man.
all the propane tanks were blowing up. And the firestorm was so like loud and scary.
Wow.
And another one of my coworkers who ran out of her car and jumped into another car, she said when she got out of her car, she couldn't even breathe because just the fire was so hot. Like her throat was burning, it was so hot. Her eyelashes were burning and she couldn't breathe. And then when she jumped into the car in front of her, she burnt a hole in the seat because she was on fire.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was just that hot outside. And imagine all these people trying to run from the fire outside. And so, yeah, some people died trying to run away from the fire in their cars. Or I don't even know how I would even want to jump out of the car. It's so hot. Like, even in the car, people are saying it's so hot. Like, they can't even touch the window with the air on full blast. It was just, I can't even describe how scary and terrible it was.
So where were you? So you got your patients?
Yeah, I got
out.
my patients all evacuated to the emergency room, and I saw that the fire was also in the direction of my house. I live a mile down from the hospital, and so I was like, I gotta go. So I started driving home, and all these homes were burning, and this is like the first time I was like, oh my God, please help me, you know? And I was just crying out to God. And then when I went home, I've been actually texting my mom, wait for authorities to come and say a mandatory evacuation, like wait for them to like knock on your door, but get ready and pack, you know. When I got
Your mom was
at home with my sister.
not at your home.
So we live together.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
we live together.
All right.
Yeah, so I've been texting her, like, get ready, and because people might knock and say evacuate. Like, none of us took this seriously. We had no idea. So I went home, I drove home, and I was so scared because houses were already burning. I've never seen something like this. It's so smoky and hot. And when I got home, my mom she got the suitcases out, and she was like, what am I gonna pack? Waiting for my sister to wake up. And I was like, Mom, the houses are burning outside. We gotta go. Like, there's no time to pack. So like I grabbed like a few like immediate things within like 5 minutes or less. And my dad also came from his work. He worked at Paradise Adventist Academy as a computer software engineer and IT guy for the whole school. So he was also home. And I was like, grab the chickens. I grabbed two chickens.
Pet chickens.
Yeah,
Okay.
my pet chickens.
Okay.
Not the defeathered ones, Erin.
Yeah. I
Right.
grabbed my 2 pet chickens, grabbed my dog, put him in the car, and my mom grabbed her purse, 'cause that's all she thought she can pack more, but she didn't have time. And like my dad grabbed his Bible, and we all like went out of the house. I was first by myself in my car. My mom was following behind me with my sister. Well, I was with my dog. And my mom was following me, and then my dad behind. So we were evacuating out of Paradise, and I look in the rearview mirror, and I don't see my dad. And I was like, so I stopped on the side of the road, and I went to my mom. I was like, where's Dad? And then she's like, he went back to school to go get the servers because he built those servers.
Oh man, yeah.
And so he went back to school, and he told me later on, as soon as he turned in to go back into town, like it was dead traffic. It was dead traffic. And so me and my mom, we went outside of town, like in a more safer place. And as we looked back up into Paradise, because we were in Chico area, and as we looked back into Paradise, my mom was like, that looks like Sodom and Gomorrah, because it was like black smoke, everything burning. And we called my dad, and he was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it out. There's fire on both sides of the road. There's fire in the road, and people are running out of their cars. And he said, I don't think I'm gonna make it. And he told me to take care of my mom. And that he loves me so much. And I started crying like hilariously, like not hilariously, but it was so shocking that like there was no sounds. And my mom was in the back seat of my car. We joined together, and she's like, "Don't worry, God is going to take care of him because your dad has been faithful to God and spreading the last day message, like the message for this time." And so we prayed, and we went to the nearby park, just waiting for my dad and calling my coworkers, texting them, and making sure that they're all okay. Finally, and we were just texting my dad, and he's like, we're still not moving. I was like, Dad, do whatever it takes, just get out of there. It took him about 3 or 4 hours to get out of Paradise. Thankfully, he made it. I'm so thankful that God kept our family together. And so when I gave my dad a hug, I gave him the biggest hug ever. I was so thankful. And so now we're like, now what? We don't even have a place to go. We don't have a job. We don't have a house. Thankfully, a friend moved out of his house, and he said we can stay at his house. So we moved straight into his house that day. We just went straight there. And we were like, okay, what do we do now? And just praying to God and praising God that our family's together, and just realizing that that's the most important thing in our lives. There's nothing important, and we're like, it's for sure that our house burned down. It's for sure, because the houses, when I was driving home, it was all burning up. And we're just thankful to God and praising God. And I was contacting my coworkers, and one of my coworkers said her husband's a firefighter,
Fireman.
and she said that this is a couple of days later after the fire.
How long did the fire last for?
I think it took about 2 or 3 days to completely like put it out. And yeah, that was a Friday or Thursday, I believe, that was the fire. And then into the next week, I would talk to my coworker, and she said she thinks her husband can get somebody to go check and see if our house is, standing. Because so many of my friends and coworkers are saying, "Oh, my house is standing," because like people will do drive-bys with their cameras, and I had no idea. I was like, well, I don't know. So my coworker got her husband to send some firemen to the address that I gave her, and I was like, how are they even going to find the address? There's no houses. But the firemen said that the house was the only thing standing there in the neighborhood. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my goodness. I was in the restaurant, and I just like covered my face, and I was in shock, and I was so thankful to God. But I was still skeptical. So I told them to go feed the 2 birds that I forgot to bring in the garage. Like, we were so like in a hurry, I forgot about my 2 birds in the garage. And a bearded dragon inside the house. But I said, if my house is still standing, go feed the 2 birds. And the firemen said, yeah, we fed them water and food. And I was so thankful to God. I was praising God so much. But we still can't go back to paradise at that time. We tried to go back, and they said, absolutely not. It's way too dangerous. And so we couldn't go back. And I got another friend. She told me that her nephew is a cop, and he went up to paradise, and he got the birds, and he came back, and my dad went to go meet him to get the birds from the cop. And the cop, this guy doesn't even know my dad. He gave my dad the biggest hug ever, like a bear hug, and my dad was so shocked because he's like, cops giving me hugs, like I'm scared of cops. And so he gave my dad the biggest hug ever, and he looked at him right in the face, and he was like, do you believe in God? And my dad was like, yes. And cops like, because your house is the only one standing in the neighborhood, and the fire burnt everything up to the fence line, and there's nothing burnt inside the fence. And we were just like, wow. And these are all just like other people seeing what's going on. We're just praising God from what people are saying. And in my head, I'm like, wow, God is working through God is working to let these people see how awesome God is, what he can do. And I was like, wow, God is good. There's a reason why he saved the home, because my dad and my mom, they forgot to save some of their work of the last day message in the computer. And so we believe that God saved it for that reason. And so we were able to go get that. And we're like, we didn't even care if things were not still there. Like, we were just satisfied. And so when we were finally able to go back, I think a few weeks later, we saw that it's a rental property. So there's a fence around the whole house, like front and back. And there's also a shed in the property that we weren't allowed to like touch because the owner said it's their stuff in there. And so they locked in, you couldn't touch it. And that shed is not there. Like, everything to the fence burned down, and that shed in the fence is not there. It's like completely burned up and gone in ashes. And we were like, God is just really proving himself that he can do anything to us. And yeah, and it's just so amazing what God can do. And so through that experience, I learned so much. There's nothing that I can do to live or try to do anything. Only God can lead me in whatever way, and that's what I've been learning even until now. Like, we still don't have a place to live. We had to move out of that rental home because the owners wanted to fix it up and then sell it. And so we've been living in trailer to trailer to trailer. And every time that there's a deadline for each trailer, like the day of that we have to give that trailer away, somebody will be like, you can use this trailer, or you can use this property to put your trailer in. So God has been showing, even after the fire, that he's leading each day. And so even now, every day I'm living by faith, and that has been such a blessing because I'm realizing more and more, like, I'm not in control. God is in control. And so the fire and so many other experiences that I've been going through, God has been teaching me and showing me that he will take care of me. And not just me, but everybody, if we just give our lives to God. And so I was also reminded of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. We have to rejoice always be thankful. We could have been complaining that all our stuff is gone. Like, why have you done this to us, God? Could have been complaining, but we were just praising God and thankful. And yeah, it says rejoice always, pray without ceasing, and be thankful because that's God's will. And because we were doing that, I believe that God has sustained us. And even when we don't do that, God sustains us because like in my past, I didn't live a proper life, and God has still sustained me, and he's been showing me each day that he will take care of me.
There was a lot of significant things that you mentioned in your story. Clearly, going through it, it's hard to even explain what you're going through in words. But one of the things that really stood out to me, because I was thinking, what would I do in that situation? If I had to go back to my house, and I only had time to grab the things that I really cared about, what would I get? And it was a very clear answer. It was the same answer as your dad. Grab my Bible. I mean, I've invested so many hours and hours into my Bible with notes and thoughts. And it's like, I don't care about anything else. Like clothes, computers, all that stuff, like, it means nothing. And I thought that was very cool that your dad felt the exact same way about his Bible.
Yeah.
The other thing that came to mind was when I first heard that there was a fire in Paradise, and I had a few other friends that had similar experiences, but their houses didn't make it. And I heard your did. I was thinking, bittersweet. That's my first reaction, because all your stuff's there. That's amazing. Like, you don't have to like relive. You don't lose all those memories. But I was thinking, but your house is worth zero. Like, that community's gone. Who's gonna want to buy a house there? There's no businesses. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
And then I found it was a rental. I was like, oh wow, you really, that's awesome. Like, all your stuff's preserved.
Yeah.
And then you can walk away.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That really worked out really for the best for you.
It's been really, yes, God is so good, and he worked out everything for us. But it's been very hard at the same time, because even during the time, we got to notice that we have to move everything out of that rental house in 3 days.
Oh, you only had 3 days to move everything out?
After
In 3 days.
Wow.
When we were able to move back in, they're like, you guys got to move out in 3 days because we're going to get our insurance and clean the house and do all these things. So we went in there like packing like day and night, and thankfully God sent some help. And then we're like, where are we going to put all this stuff? And so like God showed us where we can put them, and somebody's garage and somebody's house. And so even then, like, we're so thankful that we still have places to go and lay our heads. But we've been moving from here to there and here and there and all our stuff, and I'm just like, I don't need anything. I've been living out of my suitcase, like a couple of suitcases, and I'm like, wow, I just realized how much I don't need in this world. Life can be so simple and so happy and satisfying without all the, because I love shopping. I just buy this and that. I think I need this, and I'll buy this and that. But I'm just realizing I don't want any clutter. I just want to live simply and trusting God, and he will lead. Yeah, that's how we've been living.
I think it's also beautiful, similar to what Rita was talking about, how the blessings of God falling upon you spilled over to your landlord, because his property was preserved because of you.
Yeah.
Even though his shed did not survive. But
Actually, my landlord was like, tell me more about your God. Like, what is going on? And actually, our neighbor too, because our neighbor's house burned down, and he called my dad, and he's like, before we knew our house was standing or not, he's like, Henry, if any house should burn, it should be your house, because your house is full of trees. dead leaves everywhere. In fact, I have to clean your dead leaves that comes to my side of the fence. And so we're like, yeah,
rude.
our house is probably burnt down. And yeah, but he was like, if I move anywhere, I want you guys to live next to me. Because he believes in our God. And I was
Clean your leaves anytime.
yeah. So we were so many experiences that came to our lives that people have been able to see, and they were just able to see that God is so great, and like without this opportunity, these people wouldn't have been able to be touched. And I'm so thankful that God can use somebody like me, somebody so wretched, you know, and somebody who's lived a life that's not very good. And I'm so thankful that God can use me, and I want to keep living for God, and I want God to keep using me. And I'm every day I'm just like, God, what's the plan for today? What's the plan for today? Because tomorrow I don't know. And yeah, that's how life has been for me.
Nice. So does your family have an idea where, because you don't really have anything tying you to a place, so you plan to stay in Northern California? Are you guys open to moving to other places, or you gonna move back to Paradise? Or
Honestly, we don't know. We don't know. We just pray and fast to see what is it, God? Because I don't want to do what I want. I want to do what you want. Because as long as I'm doing what I want, God can't bless us.
That's true.
God can't bless me. So we want to keep living that way. We want to keep having this kind of life. Yeah.
I think that's a hard question to answer too, because if the entire town was on fire, there's nothing to go back to. There's no job.
It's going to take years to rebuild.
Yeah.
Many years.
Are you working?
No, I'm not working yet. God has been actually calling me to do some things, so I haven't been able to find a job because these things are lined up.
That's awesome.
And so, not yet.
Okay.
But God will show me when it's time. Yeah.
I was just struck by all these reasons kept on pouring out as to that it was God, that it was attributed to God. It was attributed to God. The leaves, the fact that everything else on the street, just everything pointed to the fact that your house should have rationally, logically burned down.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it didn't, and it's just pointing to divine providence. So it's interesting how in that situation God really, it seems, left no room for doubt
No,
in
absolutely not.
that one situation.
Yeah, 100% God is in control.
Amen.
Yeah.
So the verse that comes to mind is Psalms 91. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. So thank you so much for sharing your story, because we all want to abide under the shadow of the Almighty.
Amen.
And that's the admonition we want to leave to our viewers of iTestify. We know that you're encouraged by her story, and continue to pray for us that God will lead and bless that ministry. Continue to also watch it on YouTube and like us on Facebook. So till then, please tune in again and have a great day.